In 1984, the concept of a paranormal investigation comedy hit it big. The Ghostbusters hooked audiences with its wild effects, absurd plot, and likable cast. The property was brimming with unique branding and spin-off potential, and raced through top companies and artists' hands, resulting in the most entertaining content of the decade. Any kid alive in the 80s or 90s knew the series, and may have been guilty of eating, sleeping, and breathing Ghostbusters, and suffering through its various video game adaptations. In 1985, Kenner's The Real Ghostbusters rolled out with basic zapping features. The line quickly became preoccupied with gimmicks, but remained an easy sell. As always, SGI SUNGOLD was poised to knock off any popular line, and responded to The Real Ghostbusters with Spook Chasers. After redesigning and resculpting all of Kenner's figures, the Spook Chasers met a severely limited release. Unlike its popular Galaxy Warrior series, SUNGOLD's Spook Chasers were essentially shut out of every region, with most sales happening in Sweden. After years of getting away with everything, SUNGOLD was somehow kept at bay. While most of SUNGOLD's products were often drawn from existing off-brand molds and sculpts, the Spook Chasers were one of their few from-scratch endeavors. Rendering all new likenesses of Kenner's Ghostbusters was ambitious and incredibly risky. They replicated nearly every aspect of the original product. Fragile plastic weapons, ghosts, similar package compartments, and solid card coloration all hint that the Spook Chasers were intended to overlap Kenner's first release. Although SUNGOLD technically changed many aspects of the figures, the final look was only different by a degree or two. Boot designs were similar clunky steel-toed style, suits had matching ribbed cuffs, built-in shoulder straps, belts with equipment holsters, and while pockets, zippers, elbow pads, logos, and undershirts all disappeared, blank hoodies weren't enough to make the line notably different. Even character posture and fabric folds were all too similar. The figure head sculpts were not as classically refined as Kenner's, but were undeniably slick. The faces are cartoony, friendly, average-looking guys who clearly moonlight as paranormal pest control, and when viewed without the originals around, the toys are actually pretty good-looking and well-made. In an effort to keep production simple and match Kenner's fully unique sculpts per character, SUNGOLD abbreviated its construction methods quite a bit. In previous releases like Galaxy Warriors, there was one shared body with 6 points of articulation, and 14 parts per complete figure, with its largest incarnation requiring 29 pieces. While the Spook Chasers line has 4 unique body patterns and 8 unique arms, the torsos have integrated heads. This reduced the line to 6 parts per fully equipped figure and 18 for the entire line. Clunky shoulder construction helped avoid an elaborate torso shell per unique hero, and while the soft integrated shoulder posts and arm pop sockets tend to stick and twist together, there's just enough material bend and articulation for basic busting, and to technically call these guys action figures. The loss of articulation was considerable, but without this change, the line may have never existed. With so much corner cutting, it's interesting that the Spook Chasers were shot using such clean material. The plastics were in some way superior to the real Ghostbusters, with fewer examples of chickenpox and similar durability. The use of best materials may have been due to the extremely limited production planned and set up by one team, and it's possible that the mold limitations were imposed to offset material costs required to match Kenner. The line was very skillfully run, utilizing many different plastics. The human figures were shot consistently using slick solid vinyl in light orange for Ray and Peter, and cyan blue for Winston and Egon. Painted details were not always allowed to cure. Boot heel and head paint touch marks are very common rushed factory flaws. Rubbed high spots are also very common condition issues caused by the primitive packaging. The Ghost accessory designs and sculpts have a classic arcade look and follow a similar style to the line's human heads. The sculpts are round and clean, with wide eyes, gaping expressions, and integrated arms, just like Kenner's. They were hollowed to save material, shot in transparent flexible plastic, and seem to mimic the Gulper Ghost concept. The grimacing Slimer Ghost is the only letdown, and while the packaging makes no mention of using the accessories in this way, what kid wouldn't have tried it? Ghosts were consistently paired with a specific hero figure, but any ghost color was possible. Yellow and orange plastic is the most opaque, with red, purple, and green appearing nearly crystal clear. Some ghosts were shot with stacked pigments, but these are far less common. They may have been final run accessories, utilizing every last shred of material to complete production. SUNGOLD's Proton packs and blasters were one of the best parts of this line, completely redone by artists and engineers, but the effort remained frustratingly plagiaristic with snap-fit posts, thin streams, and nylon cords. Kenner's packs were notorious for breaking, and unfortunately many of SUNGOLD's design decisions exaggerated Kenner's existing flaws. The static streams are very prone to snap due to how they were integrated into the zapper bodies, and the additional C-shaped stream end, while a fun concept for catching ghosts, invited children to test the durability of a plastic thread. This oversimplification of an already flawed design destined the majority of these fragile fishing poles for the bin, making complete examples very hard to find. The best revision to the zappers was removal of Kenner's closed forearm straps. While this decision was likely a byproduct of SUNGOLD's desire to keep mold count low, the open design reduced stress cracks and knuckle busters, but also reduced stability. Since figure arm diameter is unique per character, the fit isn't great across the board. Egon is the most popular and contrasty Spook Chaser. His blonde hair was cranked beyond its standard platinum blonde to white, and his signature round specs were made into larger boxy sunglasses. This may have been a weak attempt to make our brainy hero stereotypically cooler looking, but the result is arguably just as nerdy as the original. Egon is technically the first figure in the series numbered 1, with Winston being 2, Ray 3, and Peter 4. All of the figures stand up fairly easily, but Egon is the most prone to tipping. Winston is the closest to its real Ghostbusters original with similar head scale and expression and slightly forward-leaning neck. Like Egon, Winston's hair was brightened, but this time reducing figure contrast. SUNGOLD opted for muddied gray hair and also painted the pupils in the same pass, giving the character a dull look. The sprayed color applications were also overdone, washing out surface detail, making the figure appear candy-coated. Ray is the lightest in the series with happy smile and lovable melting sloth eyes. His hairstyle is the least like Kenner's sculpt, looking more like a 50s drive-in mascot, but the other Spook chasers closely match Kenner's part directions and hairline shapes. While Ray's body seems plumper than Kenner's, it's not actually bigger but has a rounder butt and belly within the silhouette. The large shoulder joints make the torso seem much bigger, when they're actually very similar to the originals. Peter has a very similar puffy 50s vibe with slick hair and another light smooth face sculpt. This stuff is by far the best of SUNGOLD's products, but sadly their biggest failure, with a huge amount of effort put into the work, albeit plagiarized, and while stifled with a botched release, easily shamed for its terribly flubbed name, and cursed with brittle accessories, the line was daring, well-made, and good-looking. While SUNGOLD ultimately lost out on this one, nothing can deny the line's goofy good looks. As always, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more Black Tub Bootlegs.